You gonna restart it then?
We're up, baby. Welcome to the Magic Valley Football Fools. We're here in week one, starting off with a Thursday night special. We got Buell versus Weezer live on NFHS. Buell is actually down 7-0 right now. I'm looking at the scoreboard there on Bowers Field, and they are marching. Tegan, what have you seen from the Buell Indians so far in this game, and what do you like about Weezer?
So far, I mean, Weezer has just seemed bigger up front and more experienced, is kind of what they had. Buell graduated a couple of guys on their O line and D line, as well as their linebacker core. For Buell, though, what's impressed me the most is their defense has stepped up, though. I mean, before we started just now, Weezer had marched all the way down inside the red zone. Buell held them to a field goal, and Weezer missed the field goal. And that gave him a chance. But, I mean, right now, it's pretty much Weezer just kind of dominating in the trenches, which is very important for Buell because they're a program that has been known to run the ball. So I think they're just trying to get things going in the passing game this drive, which has gotten them down inside, I think, the 25 now. But, yeah, I mean, it's looking like a decent game so far. Hopefully it stays close.
I've really been impressed with this number 52 kid from Weezer. He's playing sideline to sideline from the middle linebacker spot, plugging the A gap, and they got him playing the pulling guard, man, and he's just lighting kids up all over the field. Alec, I'm sure you're familiar doing the same thing in your high school career. Talk to me a little bit about kind of what you like about playing football, and maybe something that that you remember about your playing days.
Yeah. Playing the pulling guard or just any pulling lineman in general was one of the most fun things you can do because it felt like you didn't have to deal with the big dummies on the other side of you. You got to go out there and hit someone that was maybe more your size if you were like me and probably undersized for a lineman in high school and and just more space to work with. You kind of felt like you had a little bit more impact on the play. I feel like for me at least, and but it was also more challenging because it was very easy to whiff on some of those kids. They hit you with a quick swim move, and you were turning around and watching your guy get tackled in the backfield, and it was not a good feeling. But um, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
it's.
know.
I think it's fun. I think it's fun to watch you big guys get out into space, and I've always liked that. That pulling lineman getting out there, and making a play on somebody every once in a while. You just see this huge pancake block on a kid that's a bit smaller than you. And man, this number 52 kid from Weezer is just crushing kids right now. 7-0, marching. Looks like Buell's going to pick up the first down on fourth, and they're in the red zone right now. Let's take a look, guys, at some of our picks, and just kind of check out who we all had here in our Thursday night special. It looks like we Tegan, you and I both took Buell, kind of believing in the Indians. I know they've got some returners back. My guy Tate Trevino, number 33, I think is kind of a twitchy special athlete. And then, call their game last year at Wood River. I really enjoyed calling out my boy Pugsley. Making some play from the running back position. Tegan, you're more familiar with this squad. What can we be prepared with here for Buell as we get into the regular season and they fight towards a conference championship?
This one was, it's one of those where, so basically last season, Buell played Weezer open season. They've done this for few years now. And everybody was against Buell. Everybody chose Weezer. Buell went down to Weezer, upset them. So that was kind of my pick this week. Was I was banking on it again. I also really like Zach Azevedo, the quarterback for Buell, as well as Castor Schilder, one of their top receivers. Pretty tall kid. Um, but no, it's a solid squad. A good group of seniors coming through. Most of them, I think, at least half of them have been playing since their underclassmen years. Whether it was freshman or sophomore year, they started playing varsity ball. So there's a lot of experience still, even though, like I kind of said earlier, part of the O-line was gone. Gabe Finley, one of the leading rushers in the state last year, graduated. But no, I mean, they bring back a lot of skill guys. But what they got to figure out is how to win that trench battle.
Yeah, I've always really enjoyed, you know, the sort of reloading that Buell Indians have been able to do over the years. You know, just when you think they're down and they're going to be in this pit, they bring in a bunch of athletes. I'm watching them play tonight. They look like a real athletic team. Even the linemen are getting up, moving around, and for me, man, you know, just a special place for a ball game. Bowers Field, everything is tight. You know, you see the kids running around all over the place and tackling each other on the opposite end zone. Just kind of a neat spot for a ball game. Looks like Buell just scored a touchdown, and they're going to go for the extra point to tie it up. And you know, I just think, you know, it's hilarious. You get down there, and I remember as a coach for a JV team, we went down to Bowers Field, and I'm thinking, gosh, we better get the ball going in this direction, because, you know, second half we're going to be going uphill, right? I mean, the field has kind of a pitch to it that, you know, just over time is you know, they talk about running downhill. You do have that advantage every other quarter there at Bowers Field.
That's true.
Looks like it's up and good, so we're tied up here at 7. Buell's going to play Mountain Home, Declo, and American Falls in the next coming weeks before they go straight into conference play, finish off with Wood River, Gooding, Kimberly, and Filer. So we'll be taking a look at the Indians. I think they got a real shot, you know, this year at making a run at the conference title, just being athletic and being the studs that they are, man. Let's quickly go over kind of our week 0 picks here, and you know, a huge shout out to Tegan for running this spreadsheet for us. I've kind of highlighted our Magic Valley teams, and so we'll start off in kind of our big schools there. Minico versus Skyview. Minico took it and dominated in that one. Alec, how do you feel about taking the L there and picking Skyview over Minico? What are you thinking there, man?
Well, I should have known that. You know, as someone who got dismantled by Skyview in a playoff game, I really, really wanted to pick them just to justify my own downfall, I guess. But the coup prevails, and I'm gonna be rooting for them the rest of the season, probably.
Yeah, they've got a nice little schedule set up. They play Mountain Home this week. I think we all took them this week for that game after the way they looked. Big final score there, 37-13. Tegan, you watched part of the game. What'd you think about the Minico Spartans this year?
Hey, like I said kind of last week, this is a team that consistently reloads, as well as they never stop running the ball, man. So,
Yeah.
as you all both know, I run that Instagram page. I find a lot of stats here and there. So, with my recap, I actually have found some stats for some of these games. For Minico's game, their new quarterback, Logan Wayman, quite a name over there that we know pretty well.
Yeah.
Had 13 carries for 107 and
Wow.
3 tutties. He also threw the ball 4 for 8 and 46 yards and threw a pick. And then with the departure of Preston Saunter Cranny, in came Brendan Heward. He had 46 yards on the ground and a tutty. And the Minico defense also had 2 picks. So I think they kind of from just looking at the stats, I think they dominated a little bit on both sides of the ball. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough crew, and coming into this next week in this Mountain Home, I think it's going to be all Minico. So,
Yeah, it's hard to imagine Mountain Home beating Minico in that. Minico's big test is going to come the week after that when they play Bishop Kelly. Luckily for the Spartans, that game's going to be in Minico, which is always a tough place to play. If you ask me, they got a little bit of home field advantage, from some of the Zebras every now and then. But that's me being a rival for Minico and knowing that that's just they've got a ton of pride in the way they play, and they play that smash mouth football game, and they're going to be a tough out as they are every single year. Let's move on to one of the more disappointing results. I say disappointing because all three of us took Twin in their opener versus Sandpoint, and it was a tough game, right? I mean, I think would they go into overtime? What'd you guys see? What'd you guys see with that game, Twin Falls versus Sandpoint?
I didn't watch the game. I know it went to overtime. I believe I read somewhere that they went for Twin Falls, scored, and were down one, obviously needing an extra point to tie it or two for the win. I believe they went for two and didn't convert.
Sure.
It is a little disappointing that for Twin that Sandpoint had to come clear across the entire state to play that game and still got the win over Twin. And I don't know, maybe there was some bad game planning or first game of the season nerves or something, but it definitely feels like that was a game that maybe Twin should have won.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Tegan, do you have any stats there for Twin, or what's the story that about this Twin team coming into the season here?
So sadly for the Twin game, there was no stats, but I do have a little addition to kind of what Alec was going off of,
Great.
just to disappoint us even more a
Yeah.
little bit. So Alec was right. I mean, Sandpoint scored first in OT, kicked the PAT, made it. Twin Falls went down, scored, but then went for two and couldn't get it. The other part that's kind of upsetting, probably for these Twin Falls players and fans, is in the third quarter, Twin Falls was up 21-7. So they even had a 2-score lead. Sandpoint crawled their way back into it, got the dub, and took a long trip home happy.
Yeah,
so that's kind of tough for them.
You got to imagine, man, going back into your memory bank and those bus ride home. It's so different when you win and when you lose. And when you win on Friday night, man, I don't know if there's a better high in the world, right? And especially driving all the way back to Sandpoint, or I don't know if they stayed in a hotel or what they did, but shout out to a tough win there from Sandpoint. And knowing the kids from Twin Falls, they'll respond, especially when it comes into conference play. They know that their big conference rival is Minico. We're looking forward to that Minico Twin game last week of the season, October 24th. And hopefully they can get this thing back on track. Let's take a look at what they've got coming up. They are going to play Valley View this week, and both of you guys picked Twin to bounce back and come away with a win against those guys. I took Valley View, man. I think there's something special about an ex college player, ex pro player that had a little success at the lower divisions coming into a school like Valley View that seems to just rally around good cultures. I know their basketball program has been on the up and up, and I'm interested to see how this team plays. Of course, Twin Falls, like I said, is real gritty, and typically they respond to games like this. how many points do you think Twins going to beat them by? I think if anything, this game's going to be close. But do you guys see something different?
I totally forgot that. Who is it? Shea McClellan coaching the Falcons now?
Yep.
Wow, I forgot all about that hire. Um, I know IVU's on the up and up in basketball. Um, Football, they've just had a very roller coaster of seasons.
Yeah.
Last time I remember them being very competitive was when Landon Larson was their quarterback, and he went on to Cal Poly, I want to say, and was getting some national pickup as maybe being one of the best UDFAs going in the NFL. I don't know if he made a roster now, but um, I just Twins going to be competitive. Valley View is going to be competitive. I'm sure it's going to be a close game.
Tegan, what do you think? What are you looking forward to in that game?
Oh man, I mean, I have that little bit of Magic Valley bias. This is one of those where last year Twin beat Valley View by that. And like I said in that first week we talked, this Twin Falls has returned a lot of guys, a lot of those skill guys, a couple of those linemen. I can see Twin winning by double digits, not like 20s, but like 14, maybe like something like that. Just something where they can get a couple of big plays, past Valley View and stuff like that. But yeah, I see this one going Twin Falls' way by just barely double digits.
Well, and Twin usually just has a pretty disciplined team, where I think Valley View might have, a bit of a learning curve and kind of, development of culture there that's going to take some time. And, in their opener, right, I think you're right. They could have a chance to just play a little bit more sound, a little bit more confident. And they're going to play a tough schedule the rest of the way going there in that the Southern Idaho Conference there in 5A. Let's move on here to our boys over at Canyon Ridge. Canyon Ridge takes on Ridgeview. We're kind of split on that. Tegan, you picked Canyon Ridge in this game. How do you think this is going to go?
I mean, honestly, last week's game they lost to Emmett by 12. I don't think they played terribly. I mean, Emmett's a top tier SIC team. I mean, of course, there's Bishop Kelly, but after Bishop Kelly's, it's Emmett. And I do have a little bit of stats for that one. Grant Hales, he didn't complete a lot of passes. He went 10 for 24, but he threw for 179 and 3 tutties. Thel Austin was one of his top targets. Only 3 receptions, but he took the receptions for 77 yards and 2 tutties. And then I don't know how to say his name, but one of their running backs had a 72-yard reception as well, where he just ran a beautiful route. There's a beautiful ball over the top. I just think they showed out pretty well. I mean, they outscored Emmett in the second half. Played a lot better. They came out punching because Emmett marched on that whole first half, and Emmett couldn't really get it going in the second. And Ridgeview is not nearly as strong as Emmett, in my opinion. From kind of what I saw last year, of course, is what I have to base it on because I don't know enough about Boise. But I can see Canyon Ridge winning a very close one. Like it'll be a very close game, I think.
Yeah, I think you and I are both kind of high on CR coming in. Believing in Juan Alvarado there, and just kind of this next building year for them. Alec, you're not so sold on this. You picked Emmett correctly last week, and you've got Ridgeview in this week against CR. What are you feeling about CR and talk to us about the Ridgeview pick a little bit.
I'm not going to pretend to know anything about Canyon Ridge this year. I don't know a single player's name on the team or anything, but Just kind of going back to the reason I picked Skyview last week against Minico. It's just the bigger student body population, probably some better chances at athletes. I know Canyon Ridge is now 6A, so I guess you could argue that Canyon Ridge should be pulling athletes like some of those schools, but I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go lean towards the Boise area and lean towards Ridgeview this game. And which once they prove it, I'll probably start rolling with them. But I just don't. I don't know enough about them right now, and historically they haven't had the best seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're more than that's a more than reasonable take. Like they don't have a tradition of winning. They haven't. I mean, really in many sports at all. And you'd think that in year 15 or whatever of the school, like we'd kind of get to that point in one of these. But I think that side of Twin Falls, it's just got a lot of turnover, whether it be in the teaching and the staff, or just kids that see, the tradition of Twin Falls Bruins as something that they want to be a part of, and they haven't quite built that pride yet in being on that side of town. Ridgeview is going to come here to beautiful Haley, Idaho, and play the Wood River Wolverines next week in a non-conference game. That sort of makes me feel like that they might not have a great roster. Typically when you've got a great roster that you are really excited about, you're going to go test your limits and play some bigger schools and go for it like that. I think by picking up CR and Wood River, before getting into a really tough conference play, it kind of lets me feel like, Ridgeview might be wanting to pick up some easy wins to start the year and build some momentum and confidence into the next part of the season. So really looking forward to that matchup and getting a chance to see what Ridgeview's got going. That game is going to be played at Ridgeview, so hopefully it'll be up on NFHS. Let's move on here.
Really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got something for you. I just happened to open Facebook 3 minutes ago in the Magic Valley Sports Times News. CSI Volleyball handed 3-time defending national champions, number 1 Florida Southwestern State, its first non-conference loss in 1,455 days.
Wow. Well,
Isn't that incredible?
That just lets you know. I mean, I think one thing that's special about Twin Falls is the fact that they do have the College of Southern Idaho. It's a great size of school. You've got the dual credits for all the kids that are going to high school there, and the sports tradition at CSI is pretty special, man. In a lot of the sports that they're doing. Shout out to Daquan, the athletic director there. I think he's doing a great job. And Alec, you're a Golden Eagle. I'm a Golden Eagle. We're both taking classes this semester. Tegan, you got anything from CSI? Do you take classes out there? You're from Filer. Do you ever get to go to CSI games growing up?
I will say I had 2 experiences with CSI. I was a dual credit student during high school.
Yeah.
I was somehow smart. And the second thing was actually one of the best things, other than Friday nights in the Magic Valley, is it's volleyball and girls and boys basketball in the Valley. A lot of teams get the chance to play district tournament games at CSI. I had the honor of actually winning my JV district championship at CSI as a sophomore. I ended up playing in the district championship game my senior year, losing that one to Kimberly. But it was just an awesome experience to be able to play in like a college gym. I mean, it wasn't the same atmosphere, but just to be able to play in such a different setting is just absolutely amazing.
It's so memorable too, right? I mean, like you said, you just don't get that opportunity to play in front of the stands, and all these towns next to Twin Falls, man, when they get the chance to play in that stadium, they show up and they show out, and it's loud, and I'll never forget being a kid watching the Wolverines play in that district tournament the year that they made it to state with Fred Trinkle. Man, it was a special year for the folks up here in Haley, and shout out to CSI, just doing some great things for a lot of kids, and getting them on to some really incredible places, and and just some great academics. Let's move on quickly here to Burley versus Century. And I think after watching the Century Diamondbacks last week, man, we are all in on the Century bandwagon and what they have, especially at the quarterback position. Tegan, what did you see in that game? That game was on NFHS. It was an overtime winner, thriller that we were watching all night long. It was probably the best game of the night, Century versus Nampa.
Let's just say Century was able to do what Twin Falls wasn't.
Yeah.
Century was the second team in overtime after Nampa scored and hit the field goal. Century scored. QB took it by himself, scored the 2-point conversion for the victory. That was a fun game to watch. I'm excited to see that Century quarterback go against Burley. The one thing I do know about Burley is good old Cameron Anderson. Played against him for 2 to 3 years in my high school career. That man knows how to run an offense. So I think that game is gonna be two very high flying offenses that the ball's gonna be in the air a lot. I did choose Century though, of course, because that QB, he's a beast.
Yeah, he was just almost impossible to stop. Alec, did you have a chance to watch that game, and what did you see? What did you like about Century, or give me anything that you got on Burley?
Nothing about Burley really. I guess a slightly funny story about Cameron is 3 or 4 years ago, his last year in Gooding. They had made the playoffs, and I went and watched, and I can't remember who they were playing now. It was Gooding versus somebody, but it was being played at Twin Falls High School. And maybe I'm remembering wrong. Maybe it was Burley made the playoffs his first year there. But one of his former players was a friend of a friend at the game and just said, "Oh well, Cameron, yeah, he'll get us to playoffs every year, but he never knows how to go further than that." So maybe there's some flaws on his end that he needs to fix to get that high flying offense to switch over to defense and get some stops. But Justice, I believe it's Justice Magnus, QB for Century, and he has his own sports page. I would love to shout out it's Justice Magnuson Sports or something like that on Instagram. He shared the Eastern Idaho News article where they interviewed him and the running back, and he said that the news station said they'd combined for over 300 yards rushing between the two. And Justice in his interview said on that last play, he said, "Well, I was supposed to throw it to so-and-so, but they brought in the guy off the corner, and I just decided to take it myself and bring it in." And he made a really great play. I got home, I had left, I came back, and I turned it on. I think I'd seen some text messages between you two that said that it was a close game going in overtime. And I saw him make that wicked good kind of juke, stiff arm move to get to the end zone, and just the whole sideline coming off onto the field celebrating with their teammates. What an awesome electric moment.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about the confidence that you get as a high school player when you get an overtime victory early in the season, and especially against a team like Nampa that was pretty stout up front, but man, oh man, that speed was just a game changer. And I think you're right. I think this is the game that Cam Anderson's got to show some proof in the pudding a little bit, and I'm sure he was watching. I'm sure he knows they got to stop this kid, because if you could stop him, it didn't seem like they had a great passing game to rely on, and so we'll see kind of maybe some of the adjustments, or the game plan to stop this kid. Cam has had a ton of success. Um, Probably most famously got a chance to coach Colson Loveland, who was a first round pick for the Chicago Bears coming out of Gooding, and it's a special thing to have those kind of players, but it's also pretty special to empower those kind of players to play the way that they do, and build the kind of confidence. And I know that Cam was really excited to get Gatlin Bear when he first moved over there, and Burley's a neat little town, and they kind of go through these ups and downs in basically every sport. They had a great baseball year this last year. Their basketball program's on the up and up, with the kid Nash Gillette, that's pretty special, and going to be a great scorer, potentially player of the year there at Burley High School next year as a senior. And they start off the year with two tougher teams in Century and Emmett before they host Wood River, and then get into some Preston, and finally finishing off the year with Mountain Home. It's going to be really interesting to watch the Burley Bobcats try to figure this thing out. Cam's got a lot of confidence in himself, and I hope that confidence gets built up in his players, and I would love to see Burley, back in a place where they've got the town rocking, and they're playing fast on that turf there at that beautiful Burley Stadium. So
Just
go ahead.
just to add on kind of something you said earlier in your spiel there is just that Cameron does a great job of getting all the talent on his team to the next level. I mean, it seemed like for years Burley was sending 4 or 5 kids to a college program, and whether it was D3, D2, D1, most of the time, it was Idaho State or something kind of that level. But I think it's just impressive when you can run a system like that. That's a college system, from what my friend Garrett told me, playing for him in a whatever you want to call it, like an all-star game type thing. Just translated to the next level for a lot of those kids, and I think it's a very valuable and admirable thing to say that he's gotten. I mean, I'm sure he has a list, but it's got to be over 30 kids that have gone to play at college level. And for a town like Gooding, that's, most schools in Idaho are maybe sending 1 or 2 kids from the whole school to the next level, let alone 5 or 6 kids off just one team.
Yeah, he's really savvy with that. I remember him doing some combine type things, events like that. Obviously, getting his kids connected to the 7-on-7 programs that are around the state. I'm a believer in Cam Anderson. I think that he's going to do some good things. He's just got to get the support. He's got to have players buy in. He's got to get athletes, recruited from that school to produce the way that I think he knows that he can produce. Let's scoot now into a 5A versus 4A matchup. Jerome versus Gooding. And all 3 of us took the Senators in this one. Tegan, why don't you start us off? Jerome versus Gooding here, week 1.
Yeah, I mean, Jerome was, I don't know if it was with Twin or with Minico, was kind of one of those top tier teams in the 2010s. They slowly started to decline lately. They've been kind of struggling. They've had a young group that I think is now seniors. But it's the same for Gooding. I mean, this is a team that Cam Anderson, as soon as he left for Burley, they have been wiped off the map. They haven't made it to state in a couple of years, I don't think. But this is a revived team. I mean, they returned everybody, I think, honestly. I mean, they returned.
I think you're right. I think they return everybody. I mean,
yeah, they returned both their running backs. They returned a couple of receivers. They returned their quarterback, Kudu Stockham.
Great, man.
They returned a bit of their O-line, a lot of their defense. I mean, this is a solid crew that I think. And they also brought in John Helmendaler from Wendell. I mean, this is a guy with a ton of experience with some winning programs. And it'll be fun to see them play against Jerome, and I think they'll open it up the right way.
Alec, what do you like about this matchup, Jerome versus Gooding? Kind of a classic Magic Valley matchup with two teams pretty close in proximity, and in week one, you know, they can build a ton of momentum going into their season with a win.
I think probably the difference here, and it's hard to say this because Gooding is also I believe has a new coach, but Jerome, I feel like the last few years has had a lot of coaching turnover from, if I remember correctly. And I just think whenever you have a lot of turnover like that, it's just you're never going to have a lot of success. And on the other side, I know Gooding's just brought in a new head coach, but as Tegan said, he's pretty experienced. So that experience, I would think, would translate faster than Jerome's kind of constant turnover the last few years.
Yeah, you know, Gooding's got a nice little group. I think, you know, Mr. Pope there, the AD, and his boy Bridger. You know, they've got a lot of spirit going towards that school, and I just shout out Bridger Pope, man. That kid is as special and savvy as an athlete that's come through the Magic Valley. I really like his attitude and his ability, and I think he'll be all over the field making plays for the Senators. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I think you guys both said it. You know, Jerome has been on kind of this lull, and you know, the Jerome faithful are really looking forward to a good season. But I think you know, if they can pull this one off versus Gooding, it's gonna make a huge difference. Jerome goes Twin Falls and Minico in the following 2 weeks. Then they go Homedale. So, you know, if they don't get this win against Gooding, man, I see those 3 games as losses, knowing that there's some really good programs there. They finish off the year with Caldwell and Wood River, and those could be wins for them that might get them propelled into next year. But all 3 of us have the Senators, and I think we're looking forward to Gooding playing well and getting off on the right foot here, and you know, really making something happen. Gooding also is going to play Homedale next week, so whoever wins this is going to carry some momentum, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch this team grow up in front of our eyes here.
Real quick,
yeah.
Buell Weezer update. Buell just had open the second half, a couple plays in on their first drive with a 55-yard touchdown run, and then recovered I wouldn't say it was an onside kick. It was more of a squib kick,
right,
that bounced off the hands of a Weezer kid, and now they have the ball on the 40-yard line.
Yeah, this game is really turning out to be something here, as Buell picking up some momentum coming out of halftime. I think you know, when you're playing at Bowers Field and you get some good things to happen, this momentum could carry them, and you know, we're looking forward to Buell making a statement here, maybe in week 1. let's move down now to a matchup that's got me really excited, as it's my hometown Wood River Wolverines taking on McCall Donnelly, and what I have called the Resort Town rivalry game. These guys have been playing for multiple years now. Seems like McCall has always had the upper hand with kind of just a little bit more solid of a program year in and year out. But I know Wood River is going to come in with kind of a new look. They had a solid JV season. I think they might have even picked up. I think they tied last year in a JV game that happened Friday afternoon before the varsity game. And there's a lot of new faces there in for Wood River as they kind of turn over their roster. And McCall just got a new awesome coach. Tegan, what do you like about this matchup here, Wood River versus McCall? And how do you see this one going?
Yeah, I mean, I picked McCall in this one. I talked a little bit about it last week when we previewed Declo versus Teton. David Joyce brought that Teton program back to life. I mean, got them to the state chip, I think, possibly. I can't remember football-wise. I know basketball they did, but no, and he's got a son that's a two-way all-state player, Joker Joyce, who's, I mean, he's a baller, and McCall had a lot of guys coming back already. I mean, with this Wood River team, I'd say game of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a lot of good sophomores. The sophomore class up there is very talented in multiple sports. I mean, just like Juan and Alec, all three of us are from the area and coach for the area in some sort of way. We're a part of the area. And yeah, I mean, I would say this is going to be a really good building year for Wood River, and it could help towards the future. I know there's some future groups even that might be decent, and this is the way to get it going, is to get an upset over McCall. But sadly, I don't see it happening this year. Next year, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Alec, what do you got here? It looks like all of us took McCall kind of in that same spirit that Tegan said. What's your take here, Alec?
Just that last year, as a guy that was on the ground run chain crew for this game, McCall won the trenches very easily, and I was surrounded by another 40 kids on the sideline, probably. Maybe some of those kids were probably JV players, but they were just dressed down. But just watching it from on the field point of view, Wood River, if they want any chance, they're gonna have to set the line and not let Conley move them around. McCall Donnelly. And I would love for Wood River to put up some points in this game. I don't know what McCall has coming back. New head coach, new to a new area. There's a chance that Wood River could kind of surprise us and give them a fight.
Yeah, I think one thing that Wood River's got going for them in this game is that they are so new. And I think a first-year head coach in McCall, coming over from Teton, like, you don't know what Wood River's going to roll out there necessarily, because so many of these kids are going to be playing in their first varsity games, or maybe they got a little bit of varsity experience towards the end of the year. But I think McCall's going to have to make some adjustments, especially when defending the quarterback. Sawyer Morgan, quarterback for Wood River, is super athletic. I think as far as a quarterback that knows when to tuck it and run, he's just got a lot of confidence, and it doesn't seem like he's in between that decision of, oh, I should run or I should throw. He just makes a decision with confidence in his conviction, and he's able to produce. And I was really thrilled to call some of those JV games from the booth, and of course call plenty of touchdowns that he was a part of, whether it be throwing or running. I think Max Fife, is a guy that you need to account for, and if McCall's not ready to stop an athlete like Max Fife, they're going to have some trouble. And Max is running up there about 6'1" now. His brother was a player of the year in basketball and in the conference there, playing up into the 5As, and was an absolute dog. And I think there's something in the blood there with the Fives, and if they can get Max Fife going, they could have a really special year. The other kid that I think could really show up and show out is Wyatt Stone. He's kind of a coach's kid. He's real athletic. He's just got to find a way to build his confidence, and it might come against this McCall team, where if he gets a couple big plays or something like that, he could really be looking at a really solid kind of a year there. So looking forward to Wood River's season. Like you said, kind of exciting with a bunch of younger guys kind of reloading. They are gonna host Ridgeview, looks like, and next week, and then they'll get Burley before heading into a couple conference games, and they'll pick up Caldwell again, who they beat twice last year. You hardly ever see a team play the same team twice in the regular season. Caldwell had a rough season last year. I think Wood River's hoping to get a win there. And then, the Jerome Farmers versus the Wood River, rich kids, right? That classic matchup that's been, kind of a rivalry forever, although things have changed as Wood River's dropped down into the 4As and Jerome hasn't seen a ton of success. I think both programs have that game circled there at the end of the year to really build some momentum into an important off season heading in for those programs respectively. Let's scoot down now here to our 3As, and we've got Declo versus Nampa Christian, and both of you guys took Nampa Christian in this game. Talk to me about what you guys see in that matchup.
I saw a Declo team that looked completely unprepared last week against Teton, and Nampa Christian is a formidable foe in a lot of sports. I'm rooting for Declo to get back on the track, but it's a tough team, and it might be a hard one to get back on track with.
Tegan, how about you? What do you like in this game? What do you not like in this game? Why'd you pick Nampa Christian?
Nampa Christian's a really good program. I mean, they bring guys back every year, and Declo is very new. I mean, especially the quarterback position. They're starting a sophomore right now, and last week was kind of his first look at a varsity squad, and sadly that had to be against Teton, so that's kind of a tough look for him. But he didn't do too bad. I mean, I think it'll be closer than a lot of people imagine. Trayson Thaxton is that QB. Went 9 for 20 last week for 131 and 2 tutties. Threw two touchdowns to two different guys. They run that wing tees. They did a lot of run plays, but Teton was kind of stuffing it. Yeah, I mean, they got some guys, but sadly, I think they'll lose by a little bit. It'll be by a little bit for sure.
And one thing that I noticed, that game was also on NFHS. It didn't seem like Declo had the big play capability that Teton had, and it seemed like every big play was going Teton's way. Teton will have those kind of years where they just have some pretty phenomenal players. And looking at their sideline, man, they seem to have more of the athletes in that game, and I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if Declo doesn't react and kind of try to get back on track. Our guy Rhett Jones was up here in the Wood River area coaching. I think he coached Alec, and I had a chance to coach with him just a little bit as a volunteer when I first got back into town. I just, I don't know if this is as much about Rhett Jones as it is about the style that they play, and against some big competition, you gotta make some big plays, right? And so, I don't know if they've got that this year, and it just doesn't seem like you'd be able to grind it out against teams that have that big play capability. Final score here on idahosports.com. Huge shout out, idahosports.com does an amazing job of covering football and all the sports in Idaho. Final score there was 12-33. So, we're looking forward to the Declan Hornets maybe responding here, getting back on track. Nampa Christian's going to play a tough schedule, against McCall next week, Cole Valley, who had a win, I believe, last week, and then Fruitland, who just dominated. And Fruitland is something to be worried about if you got them on your schedule. Good luck to the Declan Hornets and our boy Rhett Jones as they try to get back on track. Let's move to West Jefferson versus Wendell. And man, we got some West Jeff picks right here. Wendell had a tough season opener against Filer. Tegan, why don't you kick us off with that game as you were a Filer alum and your dad's on that staff. We all watched kind of a blowout there. What do you like about this matchup? What do you not like about this matchup? West Jefferson versus Wendell.
I got bored last week and I went back and watched a couple of games, and this was one of them, just to kind of see how the whole game went. I found out Wendell is a very young squad. Like we talked about last week, they had a lot of guys decide not to come out this year. Their head
Right.
coach left to Gooding. I mean, just so many changes in there. I mean, they had I think they had a freshman and a sophomore starting at the receiver positions. They have two guys trying to play quarterback. They switch them in and out depending on what's working and what's not. And against Filer and big old Cash Palmer, nothing was working.
Yeah.
They got dominated. I think they ended up almost being negative in yards.
Wow.
I only saw them really get one first down.
Man.
And I mean, Filer is just a great team. I mean, they got two guys getting offers. Talon Weaver, wide receiver. Cash Palmer, as I already said, as an O-line, D-lineman. But no, they just kind of dominated the ball. Played really well. So I mean, with Wendell, it's tough. I mean, they got to work together to grow. These young guys are going to get a lot of experience, though. And this is one of the games to do it. West Jefferson is a team that's not usually towards the top. I mean, I don't see them beating West Jefferson, but this is a game where they might see a touchdown.
Right.
They might see something good happen where the hopes kind of get put back up before. I mean, they play such a tough schedule, too, though. I mean, the new conference they're part of is an absolute juggernaut. So this is kind of one of those games where this is going to be one of their possible only chances to actually get some points on the board.
Yeah, it was tough to watch last week, and some years you just have that where you're getting excited about maybe scoring a touchdown in this game. Alec, what do you have to add here, West Jeff versus Wendell?
West Jeff is kind of a weird location. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. I think they just get a lot of farm kids, kind of pulling out of the Idaho Falls area, Rexburg, whatever you want to call it, region. That's what I was looking for. And I didn't watch Wendell at all, but Tegan's saying they got two quarterbacks. I believe it was John Madden on Madden that famously said, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. It'll be a long season for Wendell. I'm wishing them the best of luck.
Yeah, sometimes it just comes down to keeping the crew together, and you know, we talked about it last week in week 0. It's you know, it's tough for a first year coach to come in and just kind of conduct a season and keep everybody together when you know that you're a bit undermanned, and that could be what they're facing, you know, this week against West Jeff. West Jeff has a head coach listed on here, Corey Hall. I don't know if that's our Corey Hall, but you know, we'll see what West Jeff. You said they play in a pretty tough conference there with Ryrie, North Fremont, Firth, and Salmon, and you know, Eastern Idaho is just producing a lot of good football and a lot of good football players right now. Good luck to the Wendell Trojans, and hopefully they can see some positive play there. Moving on now to a matchup here in with Valley and Butte County. What do we like about this matchup here, guys? Go ahead, Alec, kick us off to start here.
Big Valley fan here.
Yeah, good.
I always have a lot of kids that I like to root for. Don't know. I know they kind of lost a good amount of players this year, and I'm rooting for them this year. I know they had a good season last year. They kind of came up short playing Butte, who was really loaded last year. Butte last week had a rough loss. Not sure where the levels of talent are standing for both teams, but hopefully it's a close one, and I might be watching it. It's available.
Tegan, how about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, this is funny enough. It's two opposites. Butte County is a team that brought everyone back pretty much, but the running back. Valley, everyone graduated except the running back. Thomas Vargas is an absolute beast at running back. I think he could have easily won Player of the Year last year for the conference. He's just amazing. Super strong kid. He's really good at keeping his balance. But I do have Butte County in this one, I think, I put Butte County just because of the talent they bring back. I mean, you can't look at the Kendrick game as a measurement, in my opinion.
Right.
For Butte, I mean, that's just an unbelievable team up there. So this is kind of the real, what is Butte made of? And then Valley, just to see how they move past losing so much.
Yeah, Valley's got a rich tradition. I think Butte, coming off of that 0-68 loss against Kendrick, you know, could be fired up to get back into some Magic Valley play, and you know, really prove themselves this week. And you know, I'm hoping to see Butte come out because, man, in week 0 I took quite the L's, man. I think I had 19 picked right. Alec, you had 23 picked, and Tegan, you had 25 picked. So I'm hoping to pick one up against Alec this week with Butte County coming up on top there. Let's scoot over here to Cary versus Murtaugh. And all three of us have Cary winning this one. Let's just quickly go over this because I think for me, Cary is just a dominant program at this level, and you know, Murtaugh is just going to be lucky to be in this game. You know, with Cary bringing a lot of kids back that are pretty tough. What do you guys think? Tegan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, Cary's another one of those programs that is just always bringing out guys. And interestingly enough, I was kind of, before the season started, I looked at a lot of 2As and 1As. And I found out, like, in a lot of conferences, a lot of teams bring their quarterbacks back. I then look at the 1A Sawtooth Conference, and pretty much every single team graduated the quarterback. Wow. Cary graduated, Preston Wood, Dietrich, Connor Perkins, Murtaugh, Sawyer Young. All these teams graduated quarterbacks, and so there's a lot of questions. But for Cary, I'm pretty confident. Their new quarterback is coach's son. I think it's not Gabe, it's Jonah.
Nice.
Gabe is going to be, I think he's either a tight end or a wide receiver for Cary already. But Jonah comes in with a solid sophomore class there at Cary to look to keep carrying the tradition. And a good way to start it off is with Murtaugh, program that, of course, just graduated their star the past few years, Sawyer Young, who's the coach's kid.
Yeah.
They got a lot of question marks over there. And also shout out to like Stockton Sears. I mean, that's a guy who has had some injuries in his past and is still one of the best athletes I've seen in the state. So yeah, I mean, I got carried by quite a bit in this one.
And Sears just a competitive son of a gun, man. I mean, I remember when we were game planning for him, second game of the year last year in basketball, and you see a knee brace and you think, wow, maybe we can go this way on him and do that. Kid's just tough as nails, man, and that's credit to him and his family, and all of us folks in Blaine County are real proud of the Cary Panthers and the program that they have and the tradition they have going forward. Alec, what do you have to add on Cary Panthers or the Murtaugh Red Devils?
Yeah, you were exactly right when you kind of started this one off. Cary's dominant at this level. A couple years ago, they had to move up a level, and they had a losing record, and they moved back down and immediately win the state championship. They do a great job getting so many kids out. I mean, it'd be hard to believe that not almost every single boy enrolled in Cary is playing football. They just have that many kids on the sideline, and they are always so physical, big, strong on the offensive line, defensive line. And in high school and at the 1A levels, that will just determine so many games before the game's even played. Just being able to push kids around and open up lanes for the field guys to score big plays. Murtaugh, I did see that in the article about them, I forget what they call it, the gridiron look. I can't remember what they call it now, but they said that second year head coach, he's looking just to get back to the basics this year, probably with a younger group. That sounds a bit from what Tegan's saying. Cary, they're just going to be able to run the ball. I would think that's why it's Cary.
Yeah, I'll say it like this, man. COVID year, Cary came in to Wood River and played a game against Wood River, and we've got a lot of guys that went to Cary that are on the police force out here in Haley and in Blaine County. And I went out to each one of these guys and said, I'm taking Wood River in this one. Why don't you, let me get $5 off you. Let me get $10 off you in this game. And I lost my butt in that game, man. Cary blew out Wood River, and they had kids doing backflips in the end zone on us. It was really, just a testament to how prideful that whole community is in their sports, but especially football. And so, looking for Cary to get on the right track here against Murtaugh. Let's move on quickly to Hagerman versus Chalice. And all three of us have Hagerman. I feel like Hagerman is, they had a tough loss last week against a really tough Logos team. And, Chalice will be a tough team. I think they've got some tough players. But Hagerman to me is looking forward to a really solid season. Tegan, what do you think about this game?
It's bounce back week.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a team. They lost to Logos last week. For me, it can kind of be overlooked in a way. Logos is either number 2 or number 3 with Butte County. Either one of those teams can take the 2 or the 3 slot. Kendrick's in a league of their own.
Yeah.
But they played a tough team. Very new crew other than Maven Camp. I mean, very, very young Hagerman team where, yes, without Maven Camp next year they might struggle, but they could also be good. A little bit of stats, though, for last week. Maven Camp, even with having to get the ball out so quick, first play from scrimmage was an 83-yard touchdown pass to Kason Knight, who's just a sophomore. He ended up having 159 passing yards, but he was sacked 11 times.
Man.
and I think there was 2 defensive tackles on that Logos team that had 4 sacks each. So, I mean, they just dominated the line in that game. And they come into this week playing a Chalice squad who opened up the season against Shoban, who hasn't played football since 2019. So, once again, another game where I can kind of look it because that's a program that's just barely being revived.
Right.
And so I kind of I don't know if it's going to be close. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. It's kind of a question mark game for me. But I do see Hagerman at least winning it by 2 or 3 scores.
Yeah, and Hagerman's a class up, right? So Chalice will be punching ahead, and I think you're right. Kason Knight's a dog, just a sophomore, but he's a stud, man. And you know, we'll see how this goes. I think Hagerman's going to pull it off. Nothing changing if they do get the win there. Let's move on now to Hanson versus Rimrock. And you got I took Rimrock. Tegan, you took Rimrock. Alec, what do you like about Hanson outside of the fact that they're in the Magic Valley?
That was my Magic Valley. Let's get a win for the Valley here.
Yeah.
Rimrock is kind of a weird school. They're like a team that will kind of have some statement wins and kind of have some how did you lose that games. Hanson, the last time I watched them play, were a really young team about 2 years ago. I'm hoping maybe that those kids have gotten older and maybe they're going to be ready to kind of be competitive at varsity level now.
Yeah, Tegan, how about you? What do you like about this matchup here?
I mean, this is surprisingly, this is a matchup I don't know a lot about.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know about what's going on in Hanson. This is a program that's been quiet and towards the bottom year in and year out.
Yeah.
I do know, like Alex said, they were young a couple of years ago. They even had some young guys last year. I just kind of chose Rimrock in this one because of past results. These guys have played each other multiple years now, and usually Rimrock comes out on top.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Hanson can get something going and have some pride here in the Magic Valley. But I'm with you. I think, in week 1 we're going to get a look at, kind of how these teams are, and hopefully we get a chance to watch a little bit and kind of project them going forward. And we'll see, man. Hopefully I'll pick up another win over Alec and make my way back into this thing. Let's move on. Shoshone versus Glens Ferry, and looks like Tegan, you've got Shoshone in this one. What do you like about Shoshone? Alec and I both picked Glens Ferry.
One name, that's what I like.
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce you to Hadley Hunt. This is a kid that is an absolute unit, okay? I mean, this kid came in, let me remember if he's only a sophomore this year or not. But he came in as a freshman, immediately started doing really well, but they were still kind of struggling at that point. Becomes a sophomore, and in comes, I think it's pronounced Mike Nunnally. New head coach, all that. Comes in, they make it to state for the first time in 20 years. I mean, huge improvements. They won games against teams no one would have imagined. This was a team that played a JV schedule like 4 years ago. I mean, it's just an insane revive. And Hadley Hunt I think he actually was the player of the year last year, possibly for 1A. No, it was Preston Wood. But he was up there. And Glens Ferry also made it to state for the first time in a long time. But they graduated 10 seniors.
Yeah.
So the reason I kind of got Shoshone, I mean, Glens Ferry still has guys. I know they're young, like their JV team did really well last year. But I just like Hadley Hunt. That's all it is. So I got Shoshone.
Yeah, Shoshone's going to finish off the year with Carey and Dietrich, basically the 2 powerhouses in the region here. And looks like they've got a chance maybe to pick up some wins. But, yeah, Alec, you've got some family there in Shoshone. Why'd you pick against them this week, man?
Well, let's not forget that Shoshone is playing their division conference lower, so this is technically an out-of-conference game for them.
Right. Yeah, because they usually play in 2A, but they're in 1A in football.
Correct. So I would give some of their success for that reasoning, but the coach obviously did make a difference, and it sounds like I believe what the coach kind of the change that came with the coach is more kids came out to play last year for their first time, and as Tegan's right, forever that program was just going on whatever every year, or they would schedule a team that they could beat for homecoming. Got a lot of friends that went to school there, and a lot of them had some really bad experiences. I'm glad that they're having some success, but I just think part of the success of their kind of revived season last year was just playing a division lower, and I think Glen Ferry is just they're kind of a middle of the tier, the 2A level, and I would expect them to maybe feel a bit tougher at the end of the game.
Yeah, I think it'd be really fun to coach in Shoshone, man. I think it's just right in the middle of kind of everything going on, right? I mean, if we were still riding around in trains, these guys would be fine. They got a train track right through the middle of their town, and it seems like they could have some success in a lot of different things, but they just they don't quite seem to get it going. That's why I took Glens Ferry. A lot of times you have one guy out in Glens Ferry that just looks like he should be playing at like the 4A, 5A level, and he just dominates, because he's right next to Mountain Home or, what have you, right? But this should be a fun little matchup. Like you said, they're going to play each other in basketball in that league. And so I'm sure these guys are kind of familiar with each other, just a little bit. So let's move down here. We've got a couple of games left. On Friday night, we've got Camas County versus North Gem, and we all took North Gem in this one, man. I know both of you guys were really considering going out to Camas County and coaching for these guys. As they were kind of without a coach all the way up until just like 2 weeks, a week before the season. And I think North Gem has had a pretty solid program over the years. Tegan White, what makes you think that North Gem is going to get this dub?
Man, so I mean, North Gem is a running team. They did pretty good last week against a Utah squad that's brand new, but I just think there's too many questions in Camas.
Yeah.
I live in Camas County.
Yeah.
So of course I'm cheering for my hometown team, but I just know it might get a little rough. A little backstory. I mean, they reached out to me early August, couldn't do it because of my job up in Ketchum. Told Alec, if you want it, go get it. Didn't work out for him either. They're calling it an interim head coach right now. As they have one guy that just kind of is taking the name. Jake McGinnis, a Gooding legend, played at ISU for a couple of years, is one of the assistants and is really helping out. There's a couple of parents that have joined the staff as well. But yeah, I mean, there's just way too many questions. I know one of their better younger guys transferred to Cary during all the chaos. So it'll be interesting to see. This is kind of the week to see what they truly have. But I do have North Gem still.
Alec, you were thinking about taking this job. I think if your girlfriend would have let you take it, you probably would have. Talk to me about Camas County, man. I'm just teasing you about that.
She brought up some pretty valid points. Going to college for the first time ever, and it's been 8 years since I've been in school. And after spending 3 hours reading a communications textbook before jumping on here, I think maybe she was right that maybe I did need a little more time. So thankful for her. might have been in trouble if she wasn't with her and decided to do that on my own. But um, yeah, I just think it probably two quarterbacks, no quarterback, two coaches, maybe no coach at that point. Might be steering in the wrong direction this season. And my junior year at Dietrich, we had to travel to North Gem, Bancroft, Idaho, for a playoff game in late October. So, granted, it's going to be some different weather, I would think, but when we played there, it was just wet, rainy, windy, terrible conditions. If Camas faces that, it's going to be even worse day for them because it's not fun. Cool environment though. When we were there, uh, all the families they park their cars around the whole field, and every time they score a touchdown, they'll flash their lights and honk their horns and everything like that. So that's kind of a cool little Friday night tradition for North Gem. Um, that bus ride, Dietrich, is about 3 hours. So I'm assuming it's going to be about 3.5 for Camas, maybe, depending on which way they go. That is a very long drive, boring, and I can tell you from experience, we did not come out of the gate playing our best because of that bus ride. So Camas is probably in for not a particularly fun first game of the season, if I had to
There's gonna
guess.
be a lot of honking.
Yeah, it could be a lot of honking, man. You said it. I think you ought to stay with that girlfriend there, Alec, because I think she dodged you a bullet with this one, man. I think you said it: two quarterbacks, two coaches, and some of these 1As. It's not just a rebuilding, man. It's I mean, it's a resurrection, and they played for the state championship, maybe even won it a couple years ago, right? With those
2 years
kids.
ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago,
And
no, they lost. They lost to Kendrick
to Kendrick, right? Well,
before Kendrick
right.
moved up.
That's right. And I think it's funny
They did win
how
it in
that
basketball.
works. They did win it in basketball. They had a special group of kids out there for basketball. I tried to recruit them into my club team. They just wanted to play together and be a family, and that's what they did, man. And I think they're going to really struggle this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Camas County grows up here, in the next decade, right? It's a beautiful place, and super jealous of you being out there, Tegan. I think over the next decade it's going to see maybe some growth and maybe some pride in some of their sports programs if they can get some coaches to stick around and really make something happen. We'll move on now here to Richfield versus Water Springs. And I don't know much about Water Springs, and so I took Richfield, but I know Richfield is kind of maybe snagging a couple players from some other teams and getting some things going. Tegan, give us a backstory here on Richfield.
Yeah, so I mean, Richfield, it's funny how this works. Lincoln County, all right, you got Dietrich, you got Richfield, you got Shoshone. Richfield, Shoshone have been two teams that have played JV schedules within the last 10 years, I'll say, just to give a big range. And both teams are kind of climbing back. I mean, Richfield, Devin Scott is an absolute beast. Plays quarterback and running back, basically. He'll run the ball all over you as well. He'll pass it pretty well. From what I heard, Water Springs is starting to struggle a little bit. So I kind of just based it off that. And then, of course, getting some information from Alec about the whole Dietrich situation this year Richfield's got some young guys coming through. They got that good group of juniors with Devin Scott. So I kind of got some confidence in them this year to make a little bit of noise. So I got Richfield to start off the season 1-0.
Alec, give us the backstory, man. What's going on out there in Richfield? You took Water Springs. I think that was a little spite, towards Richfield more than anything, as you're a Dietrich homer through and through. But give us a backstory, buddy.
Nothing too crazy. Just I don't know what you want to call it. Just a small group of families that just felt that Richfield has um, kind of a higher short-term potential for reaching, some meaningful games at the end of the year. They're going to be very young this year still. Last year, they came to Dietrich, and when they came out on the field, I was impressed. They were just warming up, and I was like, well, that kid's an athlete, that kid's an athlete, that kid's an athlete, that kid's huge, that kid's huge. Like, they're going to have some pieces. Um, I just don't know if it's going to translate quickly. I'm sure they could be a strong team at the end of the season, being very competitive. And Water Springs, it's it's a private school in the Idaho Falls area, Eastern Idaho, I should say. I'm not sure exactly where it's at. Um, when I was in my senior year of high school, they had a 6'9" kid playing nose tackle, and he was supposed to go to Washington State. I don't remember his name or if he ended up going, but so they'll have some pieces now and then. But for the most part, they usually kind of struggle. They're kind of on the lower end of their conference. Um, but first game of the season, to me, it's probably just a coin flip, and that's why I went with Water Springs.
Yeah, they got Lighthouse Christian JV October 10th. So, some of this you look at their non conference schedule and you see, yeah, what are they trying to do here? And it shows you a little bit about what kind of their expectation is. But, being there in Idaho Falls, it's just going to be one or two players. If they could get some studs, they can make a real shot at it, right? So looking forward to that. Hopefully Richfield will get us on the board, with a win for the Magic Valley. Let's move on now to Mackey versus Dietrich, and I'm the only guy to take Mackey here. I think that's mostly because Alec and I work together, and I wanted to talk as much smack as I possibly could a little bit if they did lose. Mackey is kind of an interesting place there. Uh, I just think they're a bunch of tough farm kids, just like anybody else, and if they've got a couple things going right for them, I think they could have at it. You talked a little bit about the drama with some of the kids from Dietrich maybe not being there and going transferring other places, but yeah, Alec, let's start with you on this since you are an alum of the Blue Devils there.
Um, well, I'm probably gonna pick them every week unless, except for maybe a game or two when I'm just getting a check down for a point in our picks. Um, they lost 9 seniors last year, which that level when you have 16 kids on your team and you lose 9
Yeah.
to graduation, that's detrimental to the success that you probably had from the season before, which Dietrich had in a state championship loss as a runner up. And so they lose 9 to graduation. They get 3 freshmen coming in, but they also lose 3 to Richfield, and they pick up, I want to say it was 2 or 3 from just in the high school that have just never played before. The quarterback, Gavin Hoskinson, started, I want to say, 2 or 3 games last year to open the season when Connor Perkins was still hurt. And he helped them win against Mackey at Mackey last year. I want to say he had like 2 touchdown passes. But he's still pretty early on in his development of being a very successful quarterback, and needs to learn how to make some decisions a bit faster, and just with a bunch of young kids, it can be a long season for them, but they're, from everything I've heard, they're willing to grow and they're here for the battle. So I'm just going to take them this week and hope they get back-to-back wins over Mackey.
Well, and you're hearing a lot, right? I mean, head coach Garrett's your boy, right? You still got a lot of connections out there, and you get the real scoop on these Dietrich Blue Devils, man. Um, I think it could be really fun to watch. That Shoshone game versus Dietrich is always a great game. They're going to play there towards the end of the season. Actually, last game of the season, Friday, October 24th. So a lot of teams scheduling that like real tough rivalry tradition game there. October 24th is going to be a fun, exciting date. Tegan, what do you like about Dietrich? You picked him alongside of Alec.
This one was hard for me.
Yeah.
I have
Oh,
connections
was
to
it?
Mackey. I have connections to Mackey. My dad graduated from
That's
there.
right. That's right.
Family ranch is still down there, where I might end up in the future. Who
Sure.
knows? But nah, I mean, Dietrich's a good group. I mean, Garrett's a good coach, being able to help that team out last year, and I also know Mackey lost a couple of their key guys as well, and Mackey already was very dependent on like 3 dudes, which is why they didn't do well last year. Is they had 3 main guys and 2 of them are gone, I think. So I kind of just went with Dietrich, just kind of based off of last year's result, because I know Hoskisson had played the QB position for that game, and so yeah, I'm backing him. I got Dietrich winning this one close.
Nice. Yeah. I think you guys are right. Dietrich's one of the class programs in the area. Um, Looks like Mackey's going to play Camas County and Shoban the next 2 weeks. That could really get them back on track. And, they'll finish with Water Springs, who we'll get a chance to see this week as well. So good luck to these teams. And I hope for your case, Alec, that Dietrich gets the win, because you probably won't hear the end of it if they do. They're at work. So let's move on. We've got a pretty big slate of Saturday games kind of around the state. Mostly non-conference, kind of out-of-state stuff, or long travel games. But we've got one there in the Magic Valley, and here we go again. Kendrick playing Oakley, and I think as long as Kendrick is not dealing with the bubonic plague, we're gonna take Kendrick by 1,000 in pretty much every one of these games. You labeled this Kendrick 100, Tegan. What's going on with the Kendrick 100?
So first off, again, this is another neutral site game. Back in Homedale goes Kendrick after beating Butte County in Homedale last week, 68-0.
Oh man.
I put 100. It doesn't mean 100%. That means this is going to be the first game of the year that Kendrick puts up 100. They've put up 100 points over the past 3 seasons at least once, and it was like the same team all 3 times. And so it's going to be different. And sadly, it's going to be on Oakley. This is a team that's trying to gain their footing, and scheduling Kendrick week 2 is going to be rough. I mean, the fact that they lost 52-6 to Grace, and Grace is a team that plays even with Butte County, and Butte County lost 68-0. I got Kendrick scoring 100, and honestly, I'll be honest with you guys, if they don't score 100, I'm not going to count that pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll take you on that, because I'm so far down in the standings, even just after the first week. But Alec, you have anything to add on this powerhouse Kendrick team, or what you like maybe about Oakley this week or this year?
Man, I'm tired of Kendrick winning. Good for them, but I'm tired of them winning, man.
Oh
I need
man,
somebody to compete with them.
yeah. I think it's just something we're gonna have to get used to. You know what I mean? There's a special way where tradition and expectation meets with the right level of play, and Kendrick just has that going right now, and we see it with Carey. We see it with some of these other programs around the state, and it's hard to root for the juggernaut, but I think there's something special about winning games, and Kendrick certainly has felt how special that is, and building their tradition of excellence there in Kendrick. And so, I'm looking forward to it, man. Quickly here, let's go through.
Yep.
If you got a game of the week, let's check it out, man. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean,
let's go Tegan
I can
first.
go
Yeah.
first. First off, I will say I forgot about one. Kimberly plays Leighton Christian on Friday night.
Right. That's
So
right. That's
just
right.
real quick on that one, Kimberly's going to be starting their third string quarterback for that game, so it's not going to be. It might not be the best. Titus Osterman, their top guy, is questionable. So that's going to be a game to watch just to see how Kimberly responds by replacing so many guys. But I mean, looking through this, I mean, a lot of people are probably going to pick like Rigby versus Woods Cross, Utah, Highland versus Slam, Nevada, or even what a lot of people are looking at, Rocky Mountain versus Orem, Utah, which has 21 kids with D1 offers. So that is a monster matchup. So if I had to choose one without bias, it would be that one. But with my bias, if y'all look at 3A Interstate, there's a game. It is Malad versus Lyman, Wyoming.
Yeah.
As y'all see, I chose Lyman, Wyoming. My Uncle Dale coaches Lyman, Wyoming, and is a 3-time
Nice.
state champ with Lyman. Last year was a down year because he graduated a lot. So basically, this is just my shout out. Go Uncle Dale, get a dub. But yeah, that's it for me with my shout outs.
That's awesome, man. Alec, you got a game that you're looking forward to outside of the ones in the Magic Valley?
Well, I believe I picked Rocky Mountain against that Utah team that Tegan just told me has 21 D1 players. So maybe that pick's not looking good for me right now.
No, it's a mix. It's a
Oh,
mix.
it's a mix,
Rocky
right.
Rocky has like 5 kids with D1.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought you meant
that's
just
it.
the Utah team. I was like, oh my god, like, they got 21 starters with D1 offers. I'm like, Rocky is. I mean, they'll play, but like, dang, okay, that makes more sense. But I want to say last year Woods Cross and Rigby was a pretty good game. Woods Cross might have one of the coolest logos I've ever seen. It's like a wildcat with a W in it and an X in it. I thought that was pretty interesting. Other than that, I don't know much about the out-of-state teams. But yeah, go Rigby and go Rocky.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick my boys out there in the Treasure Valley, the Owyhee Storm. And I had a really fun opportunity to coach a couple of these kids in the select basketball program. They start up with Centennial. Jason Burton's our guy, man. I cannot believe that we put him as a JV coach out here at Wood River after he wins, the coach of the year at Bora. He's back in the Treasure Valley, had a pretty solid year getting him set up, last year. And I just believe in what Owyhee is doing there with their school and their sports programs. I wish Jason Burton just the most luck and success that he could possibly have. He's an excellent man. He's a great teacher, and I'm hoping that I can see the Storm in the playoffs and possibly making a run. They don't play anybody out of state. Looks like they pretty much play Boise schools and Boise area schools. And so I think they'll have a chance to produce a really solid record and maybe get there and go. Watching here on NFHS, man, your Buell
Yes, sir.
Indians pulled it off, man, with a couple of really big plays and a stifling defense that I believe held this Weiser team to 14 points. A lot of the kids from Weiser looked like they were hanging their heads after the game. Pretty disappointed with coming up to Buell and playing on a Thursday night, and we talk about that bus ride back home, man. You know, go stop at Arctic Circle and get yourself a milkshake because that thing is that's gonna be a tough bus ride after a tough loss there to the Buell Indians. Huge win for the Magic Valley. Anytime that you can beat a team from the western side of the state, you know, especially early in the year, it is really a big win. Buell's gonna play Mountain Home and Declo the next 2 weeks, and man, I'm happy for those guys. I'm really happy for those guys. My boy Tate Trevino and Pugsley, and yeah, man. Well, that's gonna be it for this week. You know, it's been fun kind of getting this thing rolling, and you know, hopefully we'll have a lot of things to talk about next week as we see hopefully some success from the Magic Valley. Anything to add before we get off and get back to our homework here, Alec?
Um, right. I was just gonna say shout out Buell. Like, I turned it on after you guys had kind of been talking about it to see some of these kids you're talking about, and oh my goodness, Buell is not the same school, same football program I played when I was there. The sideline being filled with kids, the size of the kids that were on the field playing, those are two completely different programs from 10 years ago to now. So shout out to him for that. That was a great win. Like a 55-yard touchdown run. I saw a pick six for Buell. Just physical, and yeah, I just wanted to shout that out.
Tegan, anything to add before we hop off the call here, and look forward to watching a couple games?
Yeah, I mean, my final note: congrats to Buell. You're still gonna lose rivalry week though. Go Filer Highway 30, baby.
Let's go.
Hey, that's it for me.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks a lot, guys. It's really been a fun start to the season. You know, Idaho football is irrelevant now that Boise lost, so we can just focus on the high school teams and just lock in here, man, with the Magic Valley football fools right here. Well, thanks, guys.